Hi! Today we're going to explain the Nazi empire. Hitler was born in 1837 inside a barn and without knowing who his father was. The little boy grew up without a father figure and was raised by a relative. This all ended when his mother married a miller. His father, Alois Hitler, was a customs agent. His mother, Clara, was Alois' third wife, and Alois was never nice to him. Hitler studied in three schools: Lambache School in primary, Realschule de Linz in secondary, and Royal School of Steyr, and he dropped out of the school at the age of 16, convincing himself that his future lay in painting. Hitler traveled to Vienna, and he later visited the Academy of Fine Arts, to be admitted becoming a painter. The rector of the academy advised him to try in the field of architecture. He made various jobs, such as plowing snow, carrying suitcases, and being a construction worker, because his economic problems were bad. On 1913, accompanied by a friend from a hostel where he lived, he moved to Munich, and he had always been attracted of the military service. And finally, he fought in the First World War as a soldier and is known for controlling his bosses.
In 1999, Hitler joined the German Workers' Party. In 1920, Hitler continued thinking, and its party evolutioned into the Nationalist German Workers' Party that later will be known as the Nazi Party. After the First World War, and when they were against the Treaty of Versailles, the empire became to win strength. In that time, society was in a depression because they had lost the First World War, so because of that the nihilism was created, which was a process in which they took as model to Hitler. The 30th of January of 1933, the president of that time, Paul von Hindenburg, named Hitler his Chancellor. After the death of the president, finally, Hitler obtained the absolute power and the dictatorial power.
A great question is, why did Hitler do all of those things? During his first years in power, Hitler's objective was to unify all the provinces in which there were Germans, such as Austria or the Czech Republic, and this formed the Anschluss, a word that in German means union. In this period of history, the Japanese invaded China and the English picked Africa. Because of this, Europe was divided. And Hitler saw that to become the first world power, Germany could not stay only in Eastern Europe, but had to conquer the rest of the continent, such as France or Greece. In this principle, he took as example to the Roman Empire and Julius Caesar, a great example for the Nazis, and create the imperialism.
Everything started in January of 1939 when Hitler and the Nazi Party came to the power in Germany. They didn't start immediately killing people. Firstly, they imposed some discriminative laws and organizing violence strategies against Jews. These laws continued increasing during their rule in Germany. All this violence and laws had one unique objective: to make disappear Jews from the world. The Nazis conquered during their empire the most part of Europe, and although some territories that didn't enter in their frontiers were part of the empire. However, all the territories disappeared from the empire after the Soviet Union when they finally were defeated in the end of the Second World War.
The Axis who were allied with Germany were Italy and Japan, and the allies who were the enemies were France, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, United States, and China. In September of 1940, they signed the Tripartite Pact, and that way they controlled Europe, the Mediterranean, and Asia. Romania was from the Allies, but to avoid being invaded by the Soviet Union, they adopted a pro-German dictatorship and became part of the Axis. They signed the Tripartite Pact in November, and they fought alongside Germany first, but then switched sides and helped the Soviet Union. Bulgaria was part of the Axis power, and thanks to it they were gaining power and money. They signed the Tripartite Pact in March of 1941. They suffered from bombing, but in September of 1944, a new Bulgarian government came into power and expelled the German forces. Also, they tried to create peace between them and the Allies and fought against Germany.
We can see some similarities between the way of acting of Hitler and the things that are happening nowadays, such as the war in Ukraine. This is why we would like to compare both characters, Hitler and Putin. The first thing that we see that they have in common is that both apply an authoritarian regime to their country. Also, both create the laws in their own benefit. For example, Hitler with the racial laws and Putin with the changes in the constitution. Both search ancient splendor, which means that, for example, Hitler wanted Germany to be as it was during the First World War, and Putin wanted the URSS to be unified again. They both have a strong support in the propaganda. Hitler and Putin used the TV channels to spread his ideas. For example, Putin with Russia Today. They both justify his acts in historical facts to annex other territories. And to finish, the danger of both characters is one thing that we need to be worried about.
Now we are going to talk about the Blitzkrieg, also known as the Lightning War. It is an attack tactic that consists of an initial bombardment followed by the use of mobile forces, attacking with speed and surprise to prevent the enemy from being able to carry out a current defense. In the first phase of the war, the strategy was to defeat their opponents in short campaigns. They quickly emerged victorious for more than 2 years due to the Blitzkrieg. They used weapons and managed to breach enemy defenses. This caused commotion and disorganization among said defenses. Germany used these tactics successfully around Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, France, and more others, but they couldn't defeat Britain, which was protected from German ground attack. But Germany was also unable to defeat the Soviet Union.
The 22nd of June of 1941, the Empire had his first defeat when they break out the treaty with Russia in a strategy called Barbarossa that consists in conquer Russia. Ukraine and other anti-Soviet countries offered their help, but Hitler didn't accept it because he thought that they were subhumans. In the Battle of Stalingrad in 1941 and the Normandy landings in 1944, they marked the decline of the empire. Finally, in 1945, with the Battle of Berlin, in which Russia conquered the capital of the empire, and finally Hitler and one of his helpers suicided them. This marked the end of the Second World War and the Nazi empire that was one of the bloodiest empires of the war.